Hi everyone, it's me again. My name is Richard, and I'm the ICB Board Development Team Leader for ICB 2022. And I'll be taking you through a brief introduction into what we do as board developmental functions, as well as a little bit of tidbits that we might be expecting from you, or the kind of role we expect you to be playing in having a good synergy, especially with the board development team of ICB. Yes. So without further ado, before I go into anything, I'd like to make another alignment again that you rename yourselves in this format: your name, your entity, and your role, so that we can acknowledge your presence as well. Yeah, and your attention will be needed, so please make sure to take notes and ask questions if necessary. It's very important that you ask all the questions and we clarify all the doubts as much as possible. Yeah, so I'll talk about the BD team structure. I would also talk about our functions and our metrics for ECBs as well. But before I go into anything, I just want to know, how do you guys perceive ICB BD to be like? I know that most at times people, juxtapose the BD team or like relate the BD team to education and education only and those kind of things. But aside that, I would like to know what your opinion is for ICB BD when we talk about board development. What exactly comes to mind? I just want one person to raise up their hand and then speak, like turn on their microphone and speak. Just one person. One person. Or I could randomly pick. Okay, I would let Buddy randomly select someone. So Buddy, please randomly select someone to speak.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna go for Gail, ECB chair of Lebanon.
Okay, Gail, ECB chair for Lebanon. Usually when we mention BD, what comes to mind? What is your opinion?
I think it's super it's a super nice experience, and I am very excited to continue with this path. So like obviously about the board development, I want to work on it more, so especially in Lebanon because we don't have a team. So we will work on it and focus on more what will target. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing with us. Like she said, board development is actually very important, and it's kind of like the foundation through which we, you base everything as your function as an ECB on. So if your development as a board is very weak, then it kind of reflects onto every other thing or all the other roles that you do as an ECB. So it's very important for you to develop your foundation so that you would be able to, perform your roles perfectly. So basically, that is what the BD team is here to do: is to ensure that your foundations are perfected and on which you will be building on to perform your roles and to be able to do everything that you're supposed to be doing perfectly. So I'd like to welcome you guys to BD. As board development, we are a team of 9 people, that's including me, and then we have 8 team members. As you can see, we have one person responsible for Americas, one person responsible for Asia Pacific, 2 coaches responsible for Europe, and then 1 coach responsible for the MEA region. Aside the regional coaches, we have the enhancement managers, and these are people that are working specifically on they are working on specific things to help enhance the work that we do, not just as BD, but also to enhance the work that we do as ICB. Yeah, so we have the platforms manager, we have the programs manager, and then we have the projects manager. Each of them perform, like I said, distinct functions. The platforms is responsible for all our platforms, social media, as well as websites and etc. And then programs manager is responsible for organizing or ensuring that programs such as this or events such as this is being done properly and adequately, and ensuring that everything is being put in place to ensure that everything is successful. And then we have the project manager who handles mostly data analysis, who handles other specific projects that we intend to bring out as BD, working on things like development index, working on academies, and what have you. So these are specific things that we do to ensure that we are building the capacity, the needed capacity in the various ECBs that we have in the ISEC entities. And they all come together to perform that particular function and support the regional coaches in delivering that kind of support that each of the entities or each of the ECBs would need in their journey. Right, so I'd like to introduce my team to you. We are the Kingfishers ICB 2022, and like I said, we have 8 team members, including me, which is 9. And we have the amazing Paula, who is responsible for Americas, Dipanshu responsible for Asia Pacific, Manu and May responsible for Europe, Aya responsible for Mia, Anshu responsible for platforms, who is our platforms manager, Buddy is our project manager, and Esther is responsible for programs. So thanks to her, we are having this amazing onboarding session. All right, so basically the purpose of BD, like I've explained, I just want to put them in points. It's one, first of all, to support ECBs in capacity building for your roles. We are mainly set of focus to ensuring that that foundation is set and is ready to be built upon. And so we want to support ECBs in capacity building. We also want to ensure that we're engaging the network as possible and sparking connections into ECBs, because we realize that there are more than one ways to learn, and it's not just from learning from ICB. There are things that other ECB members or ECB chairs or anyone in the ECB may know that we not necessarily as ICB may know. And so our objective is to also to facilitate that kind of connection or that kind of network, such that you would be sharing with each other GCPs, we'll be sharing with each other working spaces and all those kind of things. And these things we believe can facilitate the work that you're doing as ECBs. We also want to champion education and resource downscaling to support the ECB work. And so we ensure that we have several academies, we have other platforms where you can have access to and then learn an array of things that are related to your job as an ECB or related to your role as ECB or as an MC ECB responsible, what have you. So we facilitate all these things to ensure that these are happening. And we also help to assist or we assist with the ECB creation and ensure sustainability of ECBs, which we refer to currently as pipeline. We help to create that pipeline. At the same time, we help you in your selection process. That's if it's been requested. We, as you are aware, we send guidelines on the selection mode. We select, we downscale templates, what have you, and these all help you guys to in the ECB creation or ECB selection process and the sustainability, because people find difficulties in creating such things and in going through the ECB selection process, and we are there to help you facilitate that particular process. And then we also ensure that all information we use are centralized for easy accessibility to the network, and we also help to create visibility not just for ICB but also visibility for the ECB network, and to help to shape the brand of ECBs. So these are some of the things that we do. These are the main purposes of BD, and is why we exist, to help you guys facilitate the work that you're supposed to be doing. Right. So as stipulated in the APIP, the BD functions as such that, or is underscored with these particular clauses or these articles: delivering education cycle, managing and updating the development index, and downscaling the ICB survey, providing findings to global plenary based on the outputs of the survey, as well as managing and tracking the fulfillment of the role and responsibilities of ECB chairs. Now, these are things that we would also be addressing in our ECB Academy, which we will be launching. So stay tuned for that. But basically, these are technical things that you would have knowledge on if you pay attention to what is being said in the academy, such as the education cycles, the ECB development index, and then the surveys and etc. So I really do hope that you involve yourself or you participate in the academy. All right, so our focus as BD is on seven to eight main categories. The first one being the ECB structuring, the second one being coaching and capacity building. The structuring has to do with the ECB pipeline and helping to support in the creation of ECBs and helping provide that sort of sustainability that each of the ECBs may need. Coaching and capacity building in helping you guys with materials, in having sessions like this, such as the onboarding, having sessions such as the ECB summit, such as the VICO and other touch points like the global calls, the regional calls, and even the one-to-ones as well. These are all spaces we have in order to help in building the capacity for each of the ECBs. Network engagements, like the network spaces that we had, having you be part of the various Telegram groups or the group pages that we have to foster, cordial relationships and network between each other. These are all things that we want to be achieving. Network resource support by downscaling out to several outputs, documents, and templates, however we can. Network orientation to ensure that you are on the right side or on the right track. You are aware of your duties as an ECB chair and you know what your boundaries are and etc. And then the final one is rewards and recognitions, basically to reward excellent performances within the ECB network, which we tend to do usually mostly during our either VICO or during our summits, and we're looking forward to doing more of rewards and recognitions as we move ahead. Right. So with the BD routine, we have one-to-ones with ECB chairs, with team members, as well as other stakeholders such as MC, ECB responsibles, and etc. Events management, like I've mentioned, support with creating education cycles, delivering ICB survey, managing the development index, ICOM and platforms management, regional synergy alignments, as well as supporting in creating an ECB pipeline for the ECB network. Now, I'd like to go on to the last part, and I feel like this is also one of the most important parts, because as BD or as a team that is working with other people, we would also expect some things or some sort of performance from ECBs, right? And not just ECBs, but also MC ECB responsibles as well. And so as ECBs that you're here, I would like for you to pay particular attention to these key metrics, because these are the metrics through which we use to assess your performance as an ECB and also assess your performance as an entity. So what do we track as ICB board development? We are tracking whether or not your entity has an ECB chair. We are tracking your attendance to the touch points. We are tracking your participation in academies. We're tracking whether or not your ECB is delivering education cycle. And we are also tracking the synergy that exists between your ECB and then your MC. These are very important things. And as such, we have defined certain minimums, such as having an ECB chair. And this ECB chair needs to go through transition to be able to understand what they need to be doing after they pick up the role from their predecessor. Attending monthly touch points with ICB, which is the one-to-ones, the regional calls, as well as the global calls. And then having touch points with your MC, that's your synergy with your MC, EC responsible, or other members of your MC. It's very important to have touch points with them in order to align your goals, align your objectives with each other. Because if there is no cohesion between the ECB and then the MC, then it becomes very difficult for each one of you to work or for each one of you to, perfectly execute your duties, right? So it's very important. It's very important for you to have touch points with your MC and have that good synergy with your MC, so that there's that sort of cohesion. Everyone understands what is happening. Everyone is updated on what is happening, and everyone is, has consent or has given consent to the next steps of things that are supposed to be done. Delivering education cycles, participating in ECB education cycles, as well as completing the ICB survey. These are all metrics that we use to measure ECB performances. And so with you going into your role as an ECB chair, as an ECB team member, as an ECB team leader, or as an MC ECB responsible, even as an MC ECB responsible, you know that if you have an ECB chair, then these are certain things that we should be doing. And so therefore, with having your touch point with your ECB chair or with your ECB team, you know that these are things that you should also be looking out for and also be following up on whether the ECBs are doing this. As an ECB chair or as an ECB team member, TL, you should also be tracking yourselves and be creating checklists to ensure that all these minimums are being reached and that you are performing to the best of your capabilities. We believe that if all these minimums are achieved, then you would have created a solid foundation for your ECB to go ahead to do the other stuff, such as auditing, such as conflict resolution and conflict management and all those things. Because at the end of the day, you would have understood your role perfectly, and you would understand what each of the stakeholders are bringing to the table. You would understand the boundaries that exist, and then you would understand what you need to be doing, the next steps you need to take, and what you can take advantage of being in the ECB network and having contact with all the several stakeholders that you're supposed to be having. So basically, that is what BD we stand for. We are always here to support you. We are here to help you to build that foundation in order to be able to carry out your roles perfectly. So do not hesitate to contact any of the BD team members, especially get into contact with your BD coaches. You have seen their faces over here. And so if you want to have contact with them, you can simply contact them through the ICB contacts or the ECB contacts list. You have their contacts over there. They'll be more than willing to assist you, and we'll be more than willing to help you to build that stellar performance that we all want to see in the ECBs, and to see that sustainability impact your entity as well. So thank you very much. At this point, if you have any questions, you can ask. Any questions? If there are no questions, I would like to hand over for the CS responsibles to take over the CS session. But before I do that, I would just like to say that I really do hope that you understood everything that we talked about, and that you understand your role, especially starting from this particular point, which is in August, and that we will be looking forward to having more interactions and having more touch points with you, now that you know how important these things are to the development, the performance of the ECB, as well as the sustainability of your entities. All right, so thank you. The next session is the CS session. So I'm going to hang my time, and we're going to have the CS session. Thank you.